All right, I'm here with Amitay Eshel. He is the co-founder and CEO of Young Goose Skincare, and he's also the host of the Biohacking Beauty podcast. Amitay, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Me too, man. I've been running into you at all the conferences and been meaning to get you on the show, and this is so serendipitous. Finally, we made it happen. We're both have busy schedules, but here we are. Not even time could hold us apart.
Exactly. Exactly. We would have recorded it on quantum energy if nothing else would have worked.
That's right. I'm really excited to talk to you because when I got to talk to you a long time ago, I just saw you at the A4M concert
Yeah.
conference last month. But I remember the first time I met you, you were doing some really interesting things in skincare. Specifically, I remember one of the things you were doing was you were using NAD, which is that's all the rage right now. NAD, and you can talk about that as far as inflammation and helping aging and longevity. And I can't wait for you to explain to the audience like why this is even important in skincare and probably your overall health. But
Yeah.
before we go there, man, we never think about I don't anyways. We never think about males being into skincare. And here you
Yeah.
are, a guy that's passionate about skincare. Tell me, like, how did this happen? Was there a day you realized, like, yeah, this is what I want to do with my life, build a skincare company to revolutionize the world?
Well, I think the story is a strange story as far as like why would someone be into skincare or why would someone be into vanity as a whole. I'm not saying vanity is a bad thing actually, but I'm a military veteran. I was in the Israeli Special Forces, and that was the first part of my adult life, and definitely took me to some places and experiences that I don't think you can have anywhere else. But when I got out of the military and I started holding some executive positions in med tech and some other companies, I had a revelation that I want to do something else with my life as far as how my life affects other people. It actually started from what is now known as red light therapy back then, which you can see kind of shining on me a little bit. But back then it was cold lasers or low-level laser therapy, and we were in charge of taking this big company that did medical lasers and turn it into a consumer-based, consumer-oriented product. And it was very difficult to explain to people why they should use red light therapy back in the day. Most of the claims that now seem very, very rudimentary back then were looked at like crazy fugazi type claims that you can make about red light therapy. And we found out that when you talk to a doctor, when you talk to like a healthcare practitioner, what they wanted to know is how it can help, wound healing or inflammation or pain in general. I remember it was when we found out it can help, like phantom pain was a big deal. But the consumer could not care less. What we found out was the number one selling point for consumers was how their skin looked after they used it for a while. And I kind of got hooked on the idea that you can really improve someone's life by the way that you have their health journey reflect in their skin, basically. Which is what I'm interested in is improving people's well-being, health, etc. But also make them proud of what they can exude through that. And that's how I got interested in let's call it in the appearance of health, right? It all came together when we started to look at NAD as a molecule that can improve skin health, and I'm sure we're going to get to it. But it all kind of came together, and I said, you know what, I want to take that as my life's project to create a company that it is based on the bleeding edge of longevity science of biohacking and translate those discoveries into skincare formulations and to say kind of the hell with what the median person knows. Because that's what normally skincare companies do. They just figure out what you have just heard about that's really healthy for you, but normally it's not maybe what Joel has heard about because this is actually the cutting edge. But what is this someone that is not into this stuff so much, like in Middle America? What did they tell him yesterday on CNN that's like healthy for them, like turmeric or ginger or something, and have that as skincare formulation. We said, let's do the opposite. Let's go after like novel, crazy ingredients and make them work in the skin.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, CNN just said Cheerios is good for your skincare. Okay, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, and that's what I find that's amazing. So I always love bringing on disruptive people onto the show like yourself. You're disrupting the industry. Everyone else wants to throw turmeric on your skin. Mm-hmm. We got a guy here who wants to throw NAD and resveratrol and all these other really cool anti-aging longevity molecules, and it's backed by science. So that's really fascinating. And I love also, too, you and I didn't mention, but it's going to come out. You and I have an affinity for every time I see you, I always pretend to do a double leg takedown on you at the conferences because you are a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I like to play every now and then. You're way more, you could easily handle me, so it's always fun to do that. But that's, I think that's what I love about you, too, is like, here's a guy who's in the trenches doing stuff. You were in the military. But again, hey, there's this other aspect, like you said, to skincare that's so important. And I can just relate it to like a lot of the clients I work with who are weight loss clients. When I first got into weight loss coaching, I thought, oh, that's so silly. Like, it's just weight loss. But yeah, it might be, but it's so transformational because when you wash away the weight, you have self-esteem, self-confidence, you feel more vibrant, your soul, your energy, that quantum being, you project so much more into the world, and then you can go out and actually start living your highest version of you. So that's what you are actually doing. You're reverse engineering, getting people by focusing on their skin. You're actually healing them from within. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and the skin is obviously your largest organ if it functions correctly, if it functions optimally. It does affect the rest of your body. It has direct highways that are connected to your HPA, which is like the center of your brain that controls like how you react to stress and it releases hormones, etc. So, I mean, if we have our skin functioning suboptimally and creating inflammation in the body, etc., you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it as part of your sluggishness, brain fog, inflammation, etc. So yeah, we are affecting how the skin works, but the effects of that healthy skin is actually traveling further than the skin. It is not only skin deep, as we say.
Okay, I'm going to talk about that actually, because I've never. So if a client were to come to me and they say, Joel, I have acne, immediately I'm going to think the gut, because what you just said. That's immediately where I go. Now, I have no idea if there's studies or if you've seen just anecdotally, like if you start treating the skin first, not the gut, is there some kind of symbiotic relationship, or will the gut sometimes, or does it actually heal as a byproduct? I have no idea.
I think it's a great question, but I think I'm going to actually divide that question, because acne, what you're seeing is not necessarily acne. It's the inflammation caused by a bacteria. That's called P. acne bacteria. So it's not actually your skin that you're treating. You're treating the flora of the skin, which, yeah, we can talk about, why that is important. But this is a more of a biomarker for what's going on in your body that's not functioning optimally. And by the way, it doesn't have to happen from let's say from you not consuming the right foods. It could be like if you watch, for example, there is now a Netflix TV show I like to watch, which is about tennis. I don't remember how it's called. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. And you see a lot of people there, a lot of athletes there with acne. So you will see a lot of professional athletes, especially when we talk about endurance sports, that have acne, and that, by the way, have also IBS and things like that. And that is because you are basically taxing the gut, or taxing the building blocks that are involved in repairing the gut, and you are distributing them in other places like your joints, your connective tissue, etc. That your gut is like 6% collagen, for that matter. So if you need your collagen because you're doing a lot of damage to your connective tissue, you're gonna have some digestion issues or gut issues in general, and that includes acne and bad formation of bacteria in the gut and leaky gut, etc. So That is a different kind of rabbit hole. But I would say that acne, yeah, you should definitely look at it from the inside out. But I'm going to tell you this. If you are, especially for an active person, if you're not doing everything that you can in order to have your skin release toxins as much as it can, and acne would be a reflection of that inability to release toxins well, because they get trapped basically, that is something that is extremely important as far as your health and well-being. And we can go on, like, if you're bloated, or if your skin is if you're puffy, that would point to bad lymphatic drainage. There are many things that we can look at as a byproduct of malfunction in the body. But we can also look at something else. For example, we can look at how our skin ages and what happens to the skin when it ages, and how it affects the rest of the body, which is kind of a top-down type of outlook, or outside in. And when we grow older, organs that are required for more turnover, for more repair, they accumulate something called senescent cells, which is one of the hallmarks of aging. It is, if you would, it's one of the things that describe what aging is. So if you think of different disease, like a tumor, okay, or I don't know, you can think of any disease that you want,
cancer or whatever. Yeah,
cancer. You could look at cancer and say, okay, it is being expressed in these different things, but it's very obvious what cancer does to you. Same thing with aging. There are 10 different phenomenons that are together, they comprise of what aging is. And one of the most important one is senescent cells, which are also called zombie cells, because they basically end their productive life, but they stick around, they create a lot of inflammation, and they infect other cells in that inflammation. Guess which organ has the most amount of them? If you guessed the skin, you're correct, because it's the skin, because your skin is being exposed to a lot of stressors, a lot of aggressors from the environment. And the more senescent cells we have in the skin, the more inflammation
Amitay,
seeps.
really quick, I think when you said stressors to the skin, I think most people think the sun.
Yeah.
But when you say that, what do you think of besides the sun? I mean, sure, the sun is also a vital force for us, but like what other stressors are we being exposed to we may not even think about?
Okay, that's actually a really cool question, because if you live in a city, you are getting more skin damage, DNA damage in the skin, aging in the skin from pollution, blue light, and EMF than you are getting from the sun.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And add to that, like, air travel, or if you're going
what
through
about glyphosate, just being
exactly.
sprayed all in the air.
Yeah, if you live next to a golf course or something, you are getting a lot of those stressors. But besides that, most people say, well, I treat my skin from the inside, right? Whatever I eat, that's how my skin's gonna age, or whatever. So there's something called extrinsic and intrinsic aging. Intrinsic aging is everything that you do on the inside. Extrinsic aging are those stressors that we're exposed to. And extrinsic aging comprises around 80% of what skin aging is. So it's mostly environmental stressors. And within that, as we said, EMF, pollution, blue light, radiation, stuff like that. These are the major drivers of it, alongside UV. Now, all of those things together, they really deplete resources on a daily basis, but they also drive senescent cells. Senescent cells create a lot of inflammation. This inflammation travels to your brain directly through something called the skin-brain axis, or the skin HPA axis. That contributes to, and this is emerging science. So this is science from the last 5 years. That contributes to inflammation in the body. That contributes to brain fog, again, like high cortisol levels. Many of the things that we then go ahead and consider, stressors to the body, stressors to or agers in the body, drivers of aging. And so now there is the talk that I'm probably being invited to do the most, and I'm going to actually talk about it in KetoCon, which is in April, is the skin as a driver of whole body aging. Yeah, so that's as far as our skin and how it affects the rest of the body. But the good news are we can do something about it. It's not like, we need to deal with it only from the inside. We can treat the skin in a way where we mitigate that.
Wow. Okay, I had no idea that we could tie in the skin with actually the brain. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And then the whole aging process. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, talk a little bit about then just what we see the normal skincare approach. I mean, it must drive you nuts. I know. I just see. I mean, I'm so susceptible now just to like chemicals and artificial like smells, like the old perfumes and colognes I used to wear. I don't wear any of that crap anymore. Now you walk into like a Macy's or something, you're just like bombarded by it. And I'm sure you're the same way. You just look at ingredients of so-called good brands of skincare and you're just rolling your eyes. Could you kind of talk about what are like some of the most common ingredients that people don't even maybe realize or that are in skincare products and they're not good for you. They're destroying your skin.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's start. I'm going to give you an easy one, and then I'm going to go a little bit harder. But the easy one is sunblock. Sunblock is extremely important. We just said, those environmental stressors. So sunblock in general should be mineral sunblock, preferably zinc oxide for the most part. But when you buy mineral sunblock, it can say mineral, but still have like 1% mineral, and it's going to say mineral. So it has to say 100% mineral. So that's like an easy one. By the way, because sunblock is a drug, according to the FDA, if you flip the bottle, you'll see if in active ingredients there is anything else other than zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, and that which should tell you it's not 100% mineral and you should choose a different one. But that's just as far as like sunblocks.
That's a big one, though. Thank you. That's a big one.
In skincare in general, most of the things that you think are bad are not that bad. Most of the things that are bad, you do not know that they're bad. So, for example, I really like to give this example. Do you know that a guy won a lawsuit against McDonald's in Australia? Basically, McDonald's had to admit that they were buying meat that is rancid, that is inedible completely. And they were laundering it with chemicals to make it so it doesn't make people sick and kill them. But basically, it's still, repurposing it for human use. But basically, what I'm trying to explain is that it's still called meat, right? There is a huge difference between grass-fed, grass-finished, Colorado meat or Montana meat or whatever, and meat that McDonald's bought and repurposed, right? The same goes with ingredients. So if one of the major ingredients that is problematic, it's like vitamin E. If you bought it after it was, in the sun for a couple years, that's actually the fact that it says vitamin E and you can say it on your bottle is very problematic. So what I would say is this: you should definitely opt for companies who are health conscious. Okay. Probably go for smaller brands rather than bigger brands. But you should really go through a journey with a company and kind of listen to what they have to say, because it's like supplements. You have to trust that they're making the right decisions for you. Some of these things that people are afraid of, like silicone and some preservatives, most of those things are within that category. If you look at them at EWG, it's going to have a rating of 1 to 5. It's like it could be great, it could be the worst thing ever. And those are, also percentages, but also like where did you source it, how did you treat it, things like that. So the truth of the matter is you won't be able to know. It's very, very similar to supplements. What I would say is most companies, the way that they treat skincare is what I kind of alluded to before, is that they're trying to aim to the lowest common denominator. Okay? It means that even if, when we started looking at NAD, which was like 2014, no one knew what the hell we're talking about. Like, no one knew what NAD was. If they did, they knew it cost like $1,000 per IV, and it didn't make sense to them that it's going to be like a cream that costs less than $100. But now you're starting to see a few NAD companies. But what we know now is that NAD, which is like cellular fuel, does nothing on its own. It needs like a list of functions that we want the skin to do in order for it to even work. So even now you see companies feigning advancement, but really what they're doing is it's like clickbait. They're just going over what they think people want to hear. Obviously, the bigger the company, the lower the common denominator needs to be, right? So that's why I alluded to turmeric, but really, the biggest company in skincare launched during the pandemic. Their new revolutionary skincare line was based on turmeric. Why? Because someone in Central America, somewhere in that is not exposed to a lot of information and really listens to the news and found out that they should eat should eat Skittles instead of I don't know what the article said there. I actually reposted it, but instead of meat or something.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So these people just found out like turmeric is good for you. So that is what they're going to put on their skincare, because the cost of educating the customer it just does not make sense when you need to make 2 million bottles and they're going to sit 3 years on the shelf. Good luck, investing in some new ingredient that you really don't know if the public is even going to accept in like 5 years. And we deal with it all the time. I mean, we have products that are halfway through research and development, and we just realized it's too early to release them or anything like that, because no one's going to even know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, talk about what Young Goose is doing different than all these other brands and how you are disrupting the industry and some of the ingredients you guys are using and why they're so effective.
Yeah, so our approach basically is we want to make the skin work or be functionally younger. That's what we're aiming for. That's the number one thing, because when you fell off the bike when you were 5 years old, that wound healed very, very quickly, and it did not leave any scar. If you're going to fall off your bike now, you're probably left with whatever injury that is for life, right? And what's the difference? Yeah. The difference is your body's ability to respond to that injury. And most tasks our body does the same has the same disabilities right now. So we aim at basically at epigenetics, or the way that our skin functions, and that we mainly do through either increasing NAD production, activating certain genes that are more dormant as time goes on, and increasing the amount of the ability of the mitochondria to function well, which is again cellular energy. But then after we have the skin function like a younger skin, we need to ask it to do specific things that we want the skin to do, because I don't know if you're aware of it, but there is no inflammation attached to a pigmented spot or to wrinkles or to laxity. The body has no idea it needs to go back and fix that. It's like a bone that healed, but it didn't heal well. What do you need to do? You need to re-break that bone. And our skin, unfortunately, really works that way. So the first thing that we do is we give it specific tasks. We talked about senescent cells, so we eliminate those. We signal renewal. We signal tightening, recycling of pigments, things like that. And then it can perform those tasks up to 20 years younger. That's what we have achieved so far. But this is only
That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we published a study on it, and it's pretty cool. Like we can upregulate about 14 different genes that are associated with their declines associated with aging, whether it would be collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid genes, a few genes that are connective tissue genes. So we can literally show like amazing results. And opposed to, it was very important to us. It might not have been like the best financial decision, but it was important for us to show it in humans, because most of what you're going to see, the joke is that you can heal cancer in a petri dish. Everything,
Yeah.
and in a petri dish, you can do whatever you want. But in humans, it's obviously way more complicated. Just as a reference, the larger the animal is, for example, they have a harder and harder time showing like intermittent fasting works. So most of the time, when we get to humans, most of the things that we thought are going to work are hit or miss. So it was important for us to take human samples, which are called punch biopsies. We took like pieces of skin off of people, and we showed those activation of genes. So we're pretty proud of it, and that's only the beginning, man. We're investing about 90% of our revenue in research and development.
That's so cool. And I think that's actually so important because when I go talk about you guys, I can refer to this study. It's not just me, being, oh, yeah, like I'm trying to get some affiliate link or something. I could care less. Like, I want people to go buy products that I believe in. And they can buy any product they want. But if I'm going to endorse or say, I stand behind this guy, I know him personally, and here's also the research to go buy it, it's not just a feeling I have. Like, here's the evidence. So I love that you're doing that. I think that's smart. Really, really awesome stuff. I'm curious, just on the lines of NAD, from what you've seen, is it really that revolutionary? Because sometimes I think, and what I mean is, and I don't suggest people do this, but could you still like not change your diet, not get to sleep on time, not do any of these lifestyle factors, but just by supplementing with NAD and some of the things you guys are seeing with your skincare, the effects are still really good, huh?
Yeah, but that's not what I would want people to do. Like, in my opinion, what should happen is you take your body as a project, right? You're saying, from, whatever, in January 1st, I'm getting myself, to the gym every day or whatever. We want the skin to be a reflection of your inner wellness. If you're expecting to, actually, I'm going to tell you something else. If you want to have the tightest skin you've had in the last like 10 years, you should gain 50 pounds. How about that? That's going to be, you're not going to have many wrinkles, let me tell you.
Oh, wow.
But that's definitely not what we would want you to do, right? So we want our skin care to be used by people who want more evidence to the fact that they're going on the right path towards, health or whatever that is interesting to them. Yeah, we can create results with anyone, but obviously the better the body functions. And when I say better, by the way, there are very, very, very specific things that you can do that improve skin health, but it would be obvious because you would understand that they improve overall health. Whether it is obviously better sleep, less inflammatory diet, obviously like not consuming as much sugar, downregulating stress, all these things. We obviously can see different organs that would that would gain benefit from that, and we can see specific things in the skin. When you move, you improve lymphatic drainage and you improve blood circulation. Those two things are imperative for skin health because blood brings nutrients with it. Your lymphatic is what clears toxins. So you can think of your skin as like a plant that needs to create, whether it is collagen or whatever, all the time, right? It needs to renew itself all the time. The more supplies we can bring that factory, and the more waste we can remove from that factory, obviously we're going to get better results. So anything that you will do to improve your health is going to improve your skin, and your skin turns over very quickly. So I'm sure I'm not the first person who says that, but we have we basically turn over cells all the time. We have a new body almost every 7 years, or we have a new liver every 2-3 years, half a heart every 25 years, etc. So our skin actually renews every 4 weeks. So whatever we are feeding in within those 4 weeks, we're going to see results later on. That's very important to understand. That's something we can see results very fast, as opposed to our liver or our heart or anywhere else that results are going to come slower.
Yeah, very cool. What other than NAD, any other ingredients that you're excited about that you guys you're using and you're seeing some great results? And then maybe even also let's talk just some of your products and how you like to combine them, and we'll kind of talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So NAD is definitely where we started, and we are looking to incorporate it in some other products as well. But the reason we are excited about NAD as a whole is because, yeah, it is a longevity molecule. It does, support the way that our cells have access to the information that they need to have. So if your skin needs to make collagen, it needs to have sufficient amount of NADs to even understand how collagen is being created, right? But aside from that, it is also a facilitator. It's an energy molecule. So the more NAD we have, the more we can ask the skin to do. In the beginning, by the way, it can result in detoxification, purging, things like that in the first 1 or 2 weeks, which is completely normal. But after that, the more problematic your skin is, the more results you're going to see because there is more demand for things to happen. But this is just like let's say that only is the way our foot in the door, because our really advanced molecules are, as I said, like senolytics, things that eliminate senescent cells. We have a really, really cool technology that are called biomimetic lipids that we actually mimic how your skin creates a skin barrier. And not only mimic it, but we can actually make it a super skin barrier. And the reason that's important is because we're starting to understand, especially with modern diet, is that people have leaky skin the same way they have leaky gut. And that leaky skin, exactly like leaky gut, doesn't only allow what we used to think is, that's what it's called, like gut permeability problem. It's because it allows more things to seep into your bloodstream, etc. But aside from that, it creates more inflammation. It creates more, kind of disruption in normal skin function. So when we heal that part, that the leaky gut, that is a huge advancement towards like the longevity on your skin. And one of the things that we're proud of the most, that's our number one seller. It's a cult product by now. It's called a hyperbaric mask. And when we made it to begin with, we made it for a specific facility that really wanted to improve the results people get, in their skin. Kind of the same thing that we're trying to do, but they said, people are going into this hyperbaric chamber. They pay a lot of money for this, and a lot of the times what they want to see in the end is a better, more healthy skin, like a tighter skin, a more youthful looking skin. But they're not really getting that. And the older they are, the less they get of that. And we're trying to figure out why. Maybe you could help us. Maybe you can make a product that would help us. So we made this gel, which we call a mask because it's very difficult to call it something. But it's a gel that you apply, that the person applied before they got into the chamber, and it ramped up the amount of oxygen the skin could even use. So you can imagine if you have an engine, if you have a turbocharger, the turbocharger just condenses a lot more air into the engine, because then you could use more fuel and combine it with that more air, and you create more energy. So kind of the same thing. It's not only about how much oxygen you have, it's how much oxygen you can actually use. So we got crazy results with this mask. But then we said, how many people are going into hyperbaric chambers? The amount is not very big. So we started to look at what are the end results in the skin when people get into a hyperbaric chamber. Like what's happening in the skin. And we went back and asked ourselves, which molecules can we use and kind of locate and get them into the same formula that it doesn't only enhance the results in a hyperbaric chamber, but it would mimic being in hyperbaric chamber as far as the skin is concerned and the benefits. And that's the second version of that, which we have now. So you apply it overnight, but it mimics the same effects that would happen in the hyperbaric chamber for your skin, which is really cool. That's why most people that use our products use this product.
Wow, that is so cool. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I'm curious, I've seen a lot of biohackers, especially, they have a whole skincare routine. Mm-hmm. They have, they're going to mask, they're going to moisturize, then they're going to clean, they're going to exfoliate, they're going to do that. do you guys have like your own kind of kit like that too, where people can kind of like build a nice little routine and the mask and everything?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
The best is to take a quiz that's online. So we have a quiz on our website. It's extremely simple. The idea was to, get you the results as fast as possible. It's not like pure encapsulations have a quiz. It's like you need to take like 15 minutes to finish it. So we want to do the opposite. It's like very simple. But the bottom line is you're going to get like either a super minimalistic routine for someone like when I started to look into skincare, obviously I was like, okay, we got to make one product because I can't use more than one product. So we can do that, but we can also, you get like levels. So you can do, a full routine where it's like wash, tone, use this serum in the morning, this serum in the evening. Then, in the morning you put this moisturizer and you put a sunblock after it. In the evening you put this moisturizer and they put mask after it. So you could get very, very complex. But if to break down like a system, just to give you something that is more like meta, not only about us, but about skincare in general, nothing really changes with like your cleanser, your moisturizer. These things are normally, there's no difference between like for men, women, anything like that. They should be pretty much the same. You could obviously have something for drier skin or for more oily skin, but there's not a lot of difference. What really makes a difference is like a serum. Serum is like choosing a direction of where you want to take your skin. So you take one active ingredient and you blast the skin with it, or two, or one aspect of what you want to have the skin do. And that is what we do as well. So we only have like one or two moisturizers, but we have like 5 serums. So someone can really choose what they want their skin to do specifically and have the skin do that and get results in that direction. So it's pretty easy that when you speak the skin language, it's pretty easy to get results, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, just doing like you said, I love it. I can't take all these products, but if you just give me one, I can do that regularly. So like just taking the NAD one would probably move the needle the most for me. So like that's amazing.
And that's how we made it. We made it so it is like the kitchen sink approach. So it does have NAD precursors. By the way, like NAD on its own doesn't really absorb into the skin. It's huge. It's an enormous molecule. But and also, not only that it's enormous, the skin has no idea what to do with it. So NAD, since it's cellular fuel, it only exists in the cell. The cells use it. They spit out a type of vitamin 3 that the body then knows to take that and make back NAD, or take it back into the cell and make back NAD. So the problem is that most of what you're going to see in like supplements or other skincare products are going to be this NAD molecule. So it's not going to absorb, and even if it did, the body has no idea what to do with it. What we do is that we break it down in the same way that body does that. We break it down into the precursors, NR, NMN, which were now in the news. NR was in the news because it's suspected to cause cancer, which it does not. And NMN because the person who was professing NMN, the person who was pushing it, has also started a company that then told the FDA, hey, we actually are researching it as a drug, so can you please not have people sell it as a supplement? So it's obviously extremely potent. So we actually use all of the precursors, all the building blocks of NAD, get them into the skin. They're nano-sized, they're very small, they're wrapped in a lipid bilayer, so they're stable. The skin knows what to do with them. The skin knows where to take them to make NAD again. So it's a much more complicated approach than just applying NAD on the skin. But this is definitely what you would want as far as one product. But within that, as I said, NAD on its own, it's just an ability. It's like a car sitting in your garage filled with gas, right? Now we need to activate the GPS and tell it where to go. So the same product has that built in. It has like 10 other ingredients that resveratrol, CoQ10, PQQ, turmeric, vitamin C, some other molecules, peptides, basically everything that your skin's going to need to know to renew itself. So it's a full, like multi-longevity supplement for your skin.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time. I know we're going to wrap things up in a little bit. I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions, then we'll jump into some lightning round questions that I like to ask people. But yeah, any other exciting projects that you're working on?
Unfortunately, we are. We are working on two that are crazy, crazy. They're just crazy. But we can't say. We are working. What I can say is three things. We're working on another way to support mitochondrial function, which is very important. There's a whole book now written called The Spark Factor by Dr. Molly Malouf that I recommend if someone really wants to know more about mitochondria. That's number one. Number two, we're working on a way to create autophagy in the skin, which is recycling of dead cells. And the third thing is we're working on a proprietary peptide blend, which we already have one, but another one that would be very, very, very effective. We're seeing crazy results with that as far as skin rejuvenation, but that's going to take probably 6 months.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say anything I didn't ask you that you wish I had before we jump into those lightning round questions?
No, I mean, to be honest, it's a fun topic for me. So wherever it goes, I'm happy.
Yeah. I'm curious, man. What are some choices that you think you made that made you who, or maybe a choice that you think that made you who you are today?
Going towards adversity. I mean, when you talk to me, a lot of people, some people, are very confused by who I was, how I started, and where I am today. That's kind of how we started this conversation. But what really, I think, has guided me throughout my life is where I feel I'm lacking, or what I'm afraid of, or what I feel I am afraid of pursuing, and leaning towards that or into it. Whether it is, the military, moving to the States, getting, choosing a job in tech, biotech, whatever that is, starting a company, keeping that company during the pandemic, which wasn't easy in the beginning, let me tell you. So all that is definitely what has led me here. And obviously it makes me a very happy person because, dealing with adversity and conquering adversity to me is the ultimate source of sustained happiness.
I love that. Don't you think too, sometimes, like, even as someone like yourself who's overcome a lot of adversity, I noticed, even myself this morning, I had all these things on my mind. I'm like, why are you worried? Like, this is exactly how you grow and you get better, by pushing through and getting over these things. So it's funny, our mind, we always push away at adversity, but it's the thing that makes us stronger and better and more capable.
Yeah, I think that the more robust relationship you have with dopamine, which you really need to work hard to get dopamine, or the things you set as things that are going to give you dopamine require a lot of commitment from your part. That's normally what creates a happy person in my eyes, and the reason I'm saying it is because the vice versa. If you are getting addicted to like easy dopamine hits, normally that does not equal happiness, from what I've seen and experienced. So yeah.
Who's someone, you guys are obviously doing so much in the health and wellness world. I'm just curious, like, who inspires you in the health and wellness world?
One person that inspires me is, I don't know if you've met him, but his name is Dr. Fab Mancini.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
He was the president of Parker, which is Parker University, which is a chiropractic university, but he's also a speaker. He's like a health expert in Fox News and in Telemundo and stuff like that. And in recent years, I've had a lot of amazing conversations with him. And this is someone that every time I have a conversation with him, he shows me where a person could potentially be if he is very committed towards service and the well-being of others. So that's definitely an inspiration, and the inspirations that everyone else has, which whether it's Elon Musk or I'm trying to take inspiration from everyone, even if I really don't agree with them, as far as why they made the choices that they made, etc.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned Molly Maloof in terms
Yeah.
of books. I wanted to ask you if there's like a top 1 to 3 books that you would recommend or that had a lot of impact on your life that you'd say you got to go out and read these books.
Yeah, the happiness hypothesis. This is number one in my eyes. It's by Jonathan Haidt. And atomic habits. I think, habit forming in general is obviously very, very, very important. But atomic habits is a very good intro to, or a way to look at habits as far as benefits. And Think and Grow Rich, I think, is a type of a Bible.
Classic.
Not necessarily for riches. I think for like a way to view life, etc. I think it really is. I was just thinking about it. I don't have kids yet, but the idea of that having being the Bible studies for kids, I think, is a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 boys, but I never even thought about that. I'm gonna have to introduce that to them early on because I didn't get introduced to it till very much later in my life. So that's a great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for bringing that up, man.
Yes, sir.
Last 2 questions, we'll wrap it up. Any rituals or hacks or practices or anything like that you do on a regular basis?
Yes. So I have a few things that I am not compromising on. So that number one is obviously exposing my eyes to light early in the morning. So the minute I wake up, it depends if it's sunny outside or not. If it's not sunny, it's going to be for about half an hour. If it's sunny, it's going to be for 5-10 minutes. I want to be in my eyes absorbing sunlight to reset my circadian rhythm. Working out in the morning as well for the same reason. And non-sleep, deep rest in the middle of the day. It could be meditation. It could be brain tap, which I really like. New calm if I'm on the road, whatever, just so I get that non-sleep deep rest and not having my eyes exposed to blue light in the evening. It's also very important to me. Yeah.
Beautiful. Those are all good.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, Amitay Eshel from Young Goose. Where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about you, and get some Young Goose products?
Yes, sir. So younggoose.com, young like the age, goose like the bird.com. That's obviously where they can learn more about us, get our products, etc. We have a very, very interactive and interesting Instagram page, which is young_goose_skincare. I highly recommend it. And obviously our podcast is not most of the time not about skin. It's about how you could, manage your life, manage wellness. So it shows in your skin in the end, but everything that wellness is basically. And that's the Biohacking Beauty podcast. So I highly recommend people to tune in. And yeah.
Amazing, brother. Amitay, thanks
Yes,
so much
sir.
for being on the show, brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.